Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So today we are continuing on our dead tree picture. So this is a ski area here in my local um, area, and this was a suggested picture from one of my followers, and so we are recreating this picture today. So we are a couple episodes in here. We've got our blue sky background as well as some of the base color for our clouds. So today we're going to continue and we're going to add in some of the more solid pieces of the color in the clouds, as well as bringing it down to our horizon line. Excuse me here. So today we're going to work with just a few colors. Red, I've got a pre-mixed orange just to save a little time, yellow and white. So if you ever do have colors that are close to what you're working with, you can cheat here and there. You don't always have to mix them directly from the primary colors. So I'm going to start out with a smaller brush today and put on some of the top thicker parts. So within the clouds, some of them are more dense and some of them are more wispy and airy. So we just want to represent a little bit more of the thicker areas of the clouds by putting on some of that same kind of color, but a little bit lighter and a little bit more on the white tone. So in here where we've got our we've got our pinkish area, I'm gonna just barely touch in the red here and pull out a bunch of white and make a real light color pink, ultra light color pink. Okay, we really want this to be very light. So I'm just going to mix this up here, give myself a good little bit. Okay, now this is just a straight pink because I did only white and red. And so I'm going to touch the yellow, and we're going to come into that just a little bit to tone it more to the orangey side. Okay. So just a tad. I got lots of the paint mixed up there. So this is this is what I'm looking at right in here in this little area. And so I want to have a color that is fairly close to that. All right, so kind of the backgroundish color of the solid area, a little bit more of that darker pink. And then we can put some little whiter highlights on it as we go. So we're sort of in this area of the painting here. So I'm just going to add a few pieces here that kind of represent what this sort of looks like to me. And then we're just going to thin this out a little bit with our brush. Okay, so again, I've got a couple colors on the palette here. I'm going to bring this down in here. Got a little offshoot over there. Okay, this looks good. Okay, so I want to immediately blend this before it dries too much. So I've got a different brush I'm going to try blending with just to see if we can get a little more controlled areas here. I don't know if this one's going to have the bristles stiff enough to do it because we're doing a wet on dry. So this does dry very quickly when the underneath is not wet. So we'll see if we can get this effect that we're looking for here. And that has dried very quickly, almost instantly. So let me see what I can do with this here. So again, guys, this teaches you about the different conditions. Going wet on wet, things can blend. I left the background on too long and it's dry now, and so this doesn't want to blend in very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to take this same brush that I have and I'm simply going to dab off as much of the paint as I can. And because I have that same color already on the brush, all right, I'm just going to make some swirls and distribute this color a little bit. Oh, look at that pink. Look at that pink. Okay, really nice. And we can just sort of blend this edge to be nice and soft. Now again, this is not the exact same shape as the clouds that are on our picture, but we just want to make sure that we're getting sort of close. Okay, kind of like it. Same areas. Okay, so you can see how that's such a more drastic difference from what's behind it there. So again, I really want to just try to distribute this paint as much as I can and blend it. Okay, I don't want these sharp edges. That's really my concern. Okay, so I'm just going to blend this out. All right, get a little water on my brush. That'll help loosen this up a little bit. I don't want too much water on there because that'll really get things mixing up. Then the paint starts to really distribute. So if you get this wet, be careful because it really does loosen that paint up. Okay, and then you'll start to spread it. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here and make little swirls. Okay, just kind of lighten up the edges here. Things are starting to get a little bit more defined in some of these clouds here. Alright, and that usually indicates that they're closer. The more defined it is, the closer they tend to be. Alright, yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so even sometimes just a little bit of water and you can sort of distribute what was already on there, depending on how hard you push and how much water you got on your brush. You can do some real fun things with these. Okay, so we're just going to kind of blend this off into float land. Okay, so we can kind of just distribute some things around a little bit, and don't worry if you bend the bristles on your brush. They'll come back as soon as you wash them. They kind of relax into the previous shape. So if you ever get them all crazy and whatnot, they're pretty resilient. All right. So I'm just blending this up in and distributing some of this paint, so only some of it looks solid. Okay. All right, so we've got sort of a shape going on in there. And we can come back and we can blend some other things back into this as well. So we've got a good little bit of our pinkish hue going on. I really like that. Okay, so now there's a little bit of this lighter color coming throughout. So what I want to do again is just get a little bit of that on there and sprinkle it in. So we're going to use that same color that we were using before, and I'm just going to dip in the water here and sort of spread this out so it's a little more like a watercolor. Okay, so I get this nice and light, nice and thin. We don't want to have too much on there, and that'll allow it to stay a little wetter as well, which allows it to blend. The drier the paint is, the faster it will dry. Thinner the paint, I guess, the faster it will dry. So I just want to throw a little bit up in here. Okay, immediately I want to come with my blending brush. Okay, so again, that goes really, really fast. So let's get a little more water on there. That's a little too blue. Picking up some of the other color that was already on my board. So we want this to be nice and blended. Okay, so I just want a little bit on there. Okay, And we can just put some layers in these things and blend them to the depth that you really want. Okay. Alright. So I do got a little bit too much blue, so I'm going to rinse my brush out. These clouds again are real thin paint, so they're drying real fast, and they're not quite as fluffy as I'd like them to be. So I'm going to come back with my moist brush. It's going to be clean, but won't be dry. So again, this allows us to sort of pick up some of that underneath paint and distribute it around. Okay, so we can come into some of these thicker areas, and you can still sort of blend them. Okay, so they're not quite so sharp edges. So paint is a very flexible medium in the sense that even though it's on there, you can still sort of manipulate it a little bit. Alright. So I just want to blend this out so it's not quite such a harsh line there. And again, you have to sort of be aware of what's already on the canvas and what you're going to pull off and what you're going to put on, and all those different contrasts when it comes time to building your things out. Okay, so we can soften some of those edges and pull them together. So I really like what we're working with here. Get a little more water in my brush. And we're going to continue adding some of the more concentrated details within our cloud sets here. So I just want to pull some of this over here into the up above it. There we go. I'm just going to distribute this out a little bit. Okay, so all I'm doing is adding a little water to my brush and sort of fanning it out in these little circles. Okay, so some of this area will remain solid, but a lot of it we really want to be nice and fluffy. Clouds are fluffy. Okay, we don't usually have too hard of lines in clouds. So this little line right here definitely is something I'm going to soften a little bit. And again, I just am rinsing my brush out, get a decent amount of water on it, and then just dabbing it off on my little paper towel here. Okay. And we can come back in here, and just that little bit of water picks up what was already there, and boom, just distributes that paint so nicely. Okay. And this allows us to sort of soften this to whatever degree we want. Okay. And again, you have to be aware of how much paint's already on the thing, and I just noticed that I'm dropping a bunch of bristles off. So I'm going to take a sec and grab my little knife here and grab a few of these. Oh, they are in there. Yeah, I've got quite a few. Oh, this will have built-in texture. Let's see if we can scrape some of those off without really messing with the paint. You may not be able to even see it on the camera, but there are several little bristles in here. So guys, this is real life. This is not studio painting. This is not some scripted thing that goes perfectly. All right. This is something we're going to continue to work on. We're going to deal with whatever little things come out of it, and little flaws and faux pas that we didn't expect. And you know, like Bob Ross says, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. So we've got some good things working here. I really like the colors and the space that we're working on. Put a little bit more of a blend over on this end of it. Got distracted with all those extra little bristles. And again, I'm not too concerned with the brushes. They're fairly cheap. You know, if you really spend a good amount of money on your bristles, or your your bristles. I guess that's what you're buying, is the bristles. The handles aren't as key, I guess. But you may not want to do this kind of technique where you're really sort of bending these things and obviously breaking them off onto the canvas. That'll be up to you how intense you want to do your blending. But this is a technique that I've found that sort of allows it to wisp together. You'll watch Bob Ross, he uses oil paints and just makes it look effortless to blend things, and try to do that with acrylics. Boy, it's a much tougher road. It doesn't have that same smoothness to it, so you have to kind of cheat a little bit and smoothen it. I don't know if that's a word, but we're smoothening. Look at us go. Okay, so we can blend to the heart's content, but starting to really create some good solid pieces within this, and we still got some of our areas in the back that aren't quite so solid. All right, so I'm going to come back in here, and again, I just want to touch my water. The more liquid I can make this, the thinner it can be, the slower it will dry for me. Okay, so I'm just picking up again a little bit of this color I was working with before. And it's sort of over here in this area as well. So we just got a little bit going on in here. I want a little bit more of that reddish tone to it. Just grabbing some more red to put into it. I didn't like that tone. It's a little too blue. And so we're going to adjust on the fly right now. Oh, look at us go. Just dabbing in over here, getting a little bit more of a pinkish hue to it. There we go. We got some over in here and kind of play down. We got a little bit going on. Yeah, like this. It kind of comes back over in this region. You can flip your brush. You got some more going on in there. Okay. Again, I'm just going to rinse the brush. We'll fluff it a little bit. We don't have quite the same pink tone. It's a little more of a bluish tone over here, it looks like. Okay, I'll just kind of come in here and give it some swirls, and it really will blend out just like little fluffy clouds. And I'm picking up some of that paint, so I'll just wipe it off and come in here and sort of blend it. There we go. And when you talk quiet, boy, that just makes it come together. I just get sort of lost doing this, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me during my times. I sort of lose myself in this, but I love it. I really enjoy doing these things and sharing them with you guys and seeing where they come out. You know, everyone is such an interesting journey. Never been able to recreate something the same twice, even if I tried. So I just want to continue sharing some of these moments with you guys, and you know, showing you the techniques that I'm using, and see how that plays out into your paintings, because I really enjoy seeing what people take from this. What does it become for them? Right? My version is for me, and that's cool. I got an actual painting sitting right here in front of me that shows me that version. But when you get to share this with people, and they go out and they do their rendition of your idea. This is a picture that was taken and given to me, but I'm losing all my water there. I offered to paint this for a friend, and it's a close friend. I put it out on social media, and he was the one that suggested the picture, and it turned out to be the one that was the most likes. So he's the one I'm painting this picture for. But when you share these pieces with people and you get to enjoy, giving them your work, that's one version. But when they create a version of your work and share it back with you, boy, that's like the ultimate prize for me. So I'm just sort of remixing a little bit of this kind of, it's almost becoming a violet color. I've got a little blue in here, and it is really wanting to make a different color of purple almost, which is okay. We're going to throw in just some of our own little flair in this. I do have a picture I'm working off of, and I really think that it's beautiful. But what I've found is that trying to, first of all, recreate something exact is really hard, and it can almost take the fun out of it, where you get so dialed in on trying to do it one specific way that you lose the enjoyment of creating. And so I really enjoy making it up a little bit more as I go with some of my own colors. All right. So we've got a few of our colorations going on. I want this to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to put some white into it. Just rinsing my brush off. And this one's a little more solid area too, so we're going to make this a little bit less liquid. So I do have some water on my brush, but I'm coming back into this sort of purplish white type color. And just in the areas that seem to have a little more solid look to them is where I'm going to put this layer. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, like that. And the longer you use the brush while you've got it on the board, the more of that paint you're going to take off, so you can sort of blend this out into almost nothing, just not having much on your brush there. And we're going to come up from the bottom with a very yellow horizon line here, so I'll come up here and just blend this while I don't have much on my brush. And again, we're going to leave some of that part that we want to have a little more solid, just not going to touch it as much. Just blending in here. Just soften the edge a little bit. Okay. I'm just taking out some of those bumps and hard lines and just making it kind of relax a little bit. This little dry brush is real good for that. And you can really blend this out to be just solid like silk. Okay, I don't want a big, extremely fluffy, solid piece right here, so we're going to pull some of that color over here. Just lighten it up here. And again, be careful with the strokes, because it definitely indicates the direction of things. And in clouds, that's usually like where the wind is blowing. We'll just keep blending on this little bad boy. I use that term way too much. Little kids around me are so fun when they say it. Okay, so we've got a little bit going on there. I do want to continue adding some of these you know, more solid areas, just kind of strengthening into the colors that I want. I don't want to shift them too much. So even up here towards the top, I do want that to be a little bit more of this purpley type color. Okay, so again, I'm just going to put a little bit here and there. And I'm just going to distribute the color. Okay, so very, very little paint on the brush. And I just want to make this a little more of a lavender. Okay. It wasn't quite a orange color in the picture, so we're just sort of distributing this little bit of lavender hue to it. And again, just the wet brush with a little bit of the color on it. Okay, so we just kind of tint it a little bit. So if you guys have been here before, thank you for coming back. If you're brand new, I appreciate you hanging out with me. We're a little bit into this video, and we sort of play to whatever happens during the video sometimes. So I'm just showing you the little techniques and the little detail creation pieces that we work with as we go, because this is such a process sometimes to really get the effects the right way. Having it happen exactly the right way the first time is very difficult sometimes. So practice is one thing you definitely want to get better at. Get better at practicing. So sometimes you have to schedule it for yourself. You have to really set aside a time and prioritize it. Because guys, nobody gets more time than anybody else. So if there's something that you want to do in life, it really comes down to prioritizing it. And usually the things that you schedule are the things that are the most important, that you're going to commit to and make sure that you get them done. So if you want to do painting, schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Hey, Wednesday, 3 p.m., I'm going to sit down with a glass of tea and I'm going to put some paint on the canvas and swirl a brush for an hour or whatever you decide, okay? But you have to make it important, right? The more important you make it for yourself, the more you'll enjoy doing it. And what I've found, and I call this one the Christmas effect, the anticipation, the looking forward to the events, leading up to them is so much excitement that you get to enjoy on the way to the thing happening. So it's not so much a dependent piece on did the event go well. It doesn't really matter if it goes well, because you still got to be excited about the possibility of it all the way up to the event. So even if the event kind of isn't as good, and maybe we're talking about painting, you know, maybe your painting didn't turn out how you thought it was going to. Well, that's okay. You still don't lose all of that time that you were excited on the way up to the painting, right? So put something on your calendar, guys. Look forward to it. Get excited about it. Visualize what you think it's going to be like when you do that thing. Whether it's painting or anything else that you enjoy in your world, start to prioritize yourself. That's the reason I'm here painting, guys, is I got real good at prioritizing everybody else in the world and sort of lost sense of myself a little bit and wanted to get back to it. So I'm glad I'm here with you. I'm glad we're spending some time. We're just continuing to add some of the more solid areas into our cloudscape and blending them out as we go. So you can see we're kind of adjusting colors and hues and transparency levels. And again, we're not exactly recreating what the picture was, but we're getting things sort of in the same area, and it gives us an idea of where to play on the painting. So I appreciate your guys' time. If you'd like to notify yourself when the next one is coming in, I don't do it. You notify yourself by subscribing to the channel. YouTube will be involved in that, but it's not me. I just put the videos up for you to watch. So if you guys would like to watch more of this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. They'll let you know when the next video is out, and I'll see you in the next one.